The recent attempt on Donald Trump's life has had the internet buzzing with conspiracy theories, especially after learning that the shooter, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, was a Republican, Trump's own party. But this isn't the first time we've had a failed assassination attempt, and certainly not the first time the killer was from the leader's own group. So today, we're covering the 10 most bizarre attempts made on the lives of political and religious leaders. From infecting a guy with a skin-eating fungus to getting mad about being fired from a job, we're going to learn that killers can sometimes get pretty creative and crazy, but still fail. Number 10. Exploding chocolate. German chocolate is one of the most premium in the world. You could say to die for. During World War II, the Nazis made a plan to assassinate British Prime Minister Winston Churchill using an exploding chocolate bar. The plot was simple. German bomb makers coated their explosives with a thin layer of rich, dark chocolate and wrapped them in expensive-looking black and gold paper. This was branded Peter's chocolate, and it was meant to be smuggled into a dining room used by Churchill and his war cabinet, where it would blend in with other luxury items. The explosive chocolate bars were designed to detonate 7 seconds after he bit into them, basically killing everyone in that room. But British spies discovered the plot before it could be executed. They alerted Lord Victor Rothschild, one of MI5's most senior intelligence chiefs, who then warned the public and prevented the assassination attempt. Number 9. The Yamaguchi incident. Gunshots are easy and exploding chocolates are genius, but a samurai sword? You have to get pretty close to your target for that, which is a huge risk to take. In 1960, Japanese socialist politician Inajiro Asanuma was giving a speech at Hibiya Public Hall in Tokyo. He was the chairman of the Japan Socialist Party and was known for his controversial views, including his support for the Chinese Communist Party and his criticism of the United States. Not the energy post-war Japan wanted in a leader, apparently. The event was attended by an audience of 2,500 people and was broadcast live, making it a highly visible platform for political discourse. And during Asanuma's speech, 17-year-old Otoya Yamaguchi, a member of the ultra-nationalist Great Japan Patriotic Society, rushed onto the stage and managed to stab Asanuma with a wakizashi, which is a traditional short samurai sword. The attack was quick and brutal, and Asanuma succumbed to his injuries almost immediately. But the photographer on the scene, Yasushi Nagao, grabbed this incredibly iconic image that even won the Pulitzer Prize. Number 8. Divine intervention. It's rare to be pardoned for trying to take a life, but Mehmet Ali Aka is proof it's possible. On May 13, 1981, 23-year-old Turkish national Mehmet Ali Aka fired 4 shots at Pope John Paul II during a weekly general audience. 2 bullets hit him in the abdomen and left hand, causing him to collapse into the arms of his aides. After a 5-hour surgery, he eventually recovered fully and even publicly forgave Aka, referring to him as the brother who struck me. They met again in Rome's Rebibbia prison, where the Pope personally forgave him. After that, the Vatican added enhanced security measures like the famous bulletproof Pope-mobile for his public appearances. Number 7. The poisoned milkshake. This happened twice. In 1936, Soviet leader Leon Trotsky, who was the direct opponent of Stalin, was living in exile in Mexico for a while. Even in exile, he kept writing about Stalin's regime and criticizing it, leading Stalin to order his assassination multiple times. And one bizarre attempt was a cyanide-laced milkshake. The idea was to infiltrate his inner circle or gain access to his home in Coyoacan. The cyanide would not have been detectable and would ensure a quick death, but the poison never reached Trotsky's home for unknown reasons, making the attempt futile. Number 6. Frozen cyanide. Not having learned from history, the CIA tried to kill Fidel Castro with a milkshake as well. In 1963, the CIA decided to slip a cyanide pill into a chocolate milkshake Castro usually ordered from a cafeteria. The operation involved recruiting a worker at the hotel to carry out the poisoning, and this failed rather spectacularly. The cyanide pill was safely hidden in the freezer of the cafeteria kitchen, and when the time came to use it, the pill was frozen and stuck to the container. In a panic, the worker tried to pull the pill by force, and it broke apart immediately. Castro's life was saved, but that wouldn't stop over 600 assassination plots against him. For the craziest of them all, stick around for number 1. Number 5. Firing leads to firing. Getting fired from a job is a part of life, but for Robert Pickett, it was the final straw. Pickett was a former IRS accountant who was fired in 1988 for poor performance and low attendance. That frustration, coupled with some obvious mental health issues, led to Pickett shooting at the White House in an attempt to assassinate President Bush. Well, Bush was inside the house exercising when several shots went off in the lawn, making this a pretty bizarre, even lazy attempt at an assassination. But Pickett's actions led to a standoff with law enforcement, during which he threatened to shoot himself and others. The scene ended when a Secret Service agent shot Pickett in the knee, which effectively stopped all argument. Later, he was sentenced to 3 years at the Federal Medical Center in Rochester, followed by 3 years of probation. He was released on September 19, 2003. Number 4. 2 unconnected female assassins. It's a problem when 2 unconnected assassins try to take your life within 2 weeks of each other. President Gerald Ford had 2 completely unconnected women try to shoot him from a close distance. The first attempt occurred on September 5, 1975, in Sacramento, California. While President Ford was mingling with the crowd at the state capitol, Lynette Squeaky Fromm, a member of Charles Manson's cult, approached him. She was wearing a bright red dress and elf-like cap, definitely not trying to be covert, and pulled a Colt .45 from a leg holster and aimed it at Ford. She pulled the trigger, but the gun failed to discharge. In her astonishment, Fromm exclaimed,
"It didn't go off! Can you believe it?"
before being subdued by security. And only 17 days later, on September 22, 1975, President Ford was in San Francisco, leaving the St. Francis Hotel after a conference. Sarah Jane Moore, a radicalized former FBI informant, took her chance from across the street. She fired 2 shots at Ford, one of which came close but missed. The second shot was deflected by a bystander who intervened, tackling Moore to the ground. And these incidents remain a remarkable and strange chapter in the history of presidential security. Number 3. Bomb in a VCR. This takes entertainment to a whole new level. In 1984, after the death of IRA hunger striker Bobby Sands, the Irish Republican Army set their sights on assassinating British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Knowing she would be present at the annual Conservative Party conference, they came up with a plan. 3 weeks before the event, IRA bomb maker Jerry Magee checked into the Grand Hotel in Brighton, England, under a false name. He planted a bomb in room 629, cleverly using electronic components from a VCR to create a delayed timer. The bomb was set to detonate at 2:53 a.m. on October 11th, the final day of the conference, when Thatcher was scheduled to give her speech. The idea was to create an explosion powerful enough to bring down the entire building, ensuring the death of Thatcher and everyone else inside. It went off just fine and right on time, but it didn't really have the impact they hoped. The explosion killed 5 people and injured 30 others, but Thatcher narrowly escaped. A chimney column collapsed just a few feet away from her room, but she was unharmed. Jerry's fingerprints were found on his hotel check-in card, leading to his arrest, and he got 8 life sentences with a minimum of 35 years. Number 2. Saved by a Book. On October 14, 1912, while arriving at a campaign event in Milwaukee, former President Theodore Roosevelt was shot outside the Gilpatrick Hotel by John Schrank, a guy who believed the ghost of assassinated President William McKinley had ordered him to kill Roosevelt. The bullet hit Roosevelt's chest after piercing his steel eyeglass case and the 50-page speech in his pocket. But despite being wounded, Roosevelt carried on with his speech as blood seeped into his shirt and the bullet went in deeper. He went on for the full 90 minutes before being examined by doctors. Doctors found that the bullet had lodged in his chest muscle but hadn't gone any deeper than that. They decided it was safer to leave the bullet in place rather than remove it, so Roosevelt carried the bullet in his body for the rest of his life, a constant reminder of the failed assassination attempt. Number 1. The flesh-eating fungus. Fidel Castro had the annoying habit of slipping away from the CIA, making the CIA cook up even crazier attempts at his life. In one such incident, they planned to contaminate Castro's deep-diving suit with a fungus that would slowly eat away at his skin and kill him over time. They poisoned the suit and the breathing apparatus, and it was supposed to be given to Castro by American lawyer James Donovan, who had been negotiating with the Cuban leader concerning a hostage situation. Somehow Castro's associate Miskovsky learned about the poisoned suit and made sure to give him a different one. Not sure who ended up using that suit, but Castro lived. And those are the top 10 most bizarre assassination attempts. If you know any others, drop them in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more.